One of my favorite things to do in Monster Hunter is to farm for the large and small crowns. It represents the search for the biggest and tiniest specimen of each of the monsters in the game. To me, the best part of Monster Hunter is its namesake, hunting the monsters. So going on a killing spree in search of these crowns has always satisfied my need for monster annihilation. I first started crown farming in base Monster Hunter World and proceeded to do the same in Iceborne. Of course, it will not be any different for Monster Hunter Rise. That being said, farming for these crowns can be an extremely arduous, frustrating, and at times soul-destroying endeavor. For this reason, I set out to make this guide in order to share my experiences and give all hunters the essential tools they need to triumph and fill their hunting logs with the shine of gold. In this video, we're gonna go over different methodologies to reach our objective. We are going to give some general tips to increase our success rate, and finally, we're going to review each monster one by one in order to establish which is the best quest to farm for each of their crowns. My dear viewer, this is a lot of content. For this reason, I have placed timestamps in the description of this video in order to help you navigate the content and reach the information that you're looking for. Do not hesitate to use them. The time has come to embark on this challenge. Prepare yourself, and let's get started. The most important thing when trying to achieve an accomplishment that is so time-consuming as crown farming and Monster Hunter is the how. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What will be our process to reach success in the most efficient way possible? This is methodology, and it is a key item in the list of your success. Organization is basic as it will save you time, frustration, and it will increase your chances of victory. If you stick to a system, you stick to progress. In regards to methodology, I want to go over 3 aspects that you need to take into consideration before beginning the hunt for the crowns. These are the mental state, the possibility of cheating, and the choice between measuring a monster or hunting it. In regards to mental state, I will say this again. Crown farming is an arduous, frustrating, and soul-sucking activity. If you do not tackle this with the right mentality, it will destroy you. Crown farming is not a race. It is a marathon. We are not trying to be quick, we are trying to be efficient. This is important because unfortunately, crown farming works on very harsh probabilities and it is very much based on sheer luck. Sometimes you will get the crowns in 15 to 30 hunts. Other times it will take 40 to 60 hunts, and God forbid, there will be some special cases where you will reach over 100 hunts of the same monster and have no crowns to show for it. This can become seriously infuriating. Hunting the same monster over and over again while seeing that you do not get the roll that you need can weaken your resolve. For this reason, it is important to have a strong mental state. Avoid comparisons with your friends. Do not worry about how long it takes, and certainly do not burn yourself out. Maintain a cool head by understanding that sooner or later the crown will drop. We just have to roll the dice one more time, and each roll is one closer to the drop of the crown. Perseverance, discipline, and confidence are all needed to succeed. It may take 100 hunts, but we will get there. The secret is to never give up and to be smart as well. Resting, planning, and positivity are all part of the formula for success. If you're able to steel your mind and keep on pushing forward, then you will not have any issues. This guide is meant to give you all the tools you need to accomplish this endeavor, but it is only you who can provide the sheer force of will to come out on top. I believe in you. With the release of Monster Hunter Rise on PC, we have to also take into consideration the possibility that we have, as hunters, to cheat. There are ways to use mods and third-party programs in order to guarantee crown drops on every hunt. This means that if you choose to cheat, you will be able to get all the gold crowns in just a few hunts for each monster. This of course defeats the purpose of the achievement, and doing it this way is not really much of an accomplishment. That being said, it is important to note that this option exists, and if you play on PC, it is definitely the most efficient way to get the gold crowns. I personally disagree with doing things this way, but if you choose to do so, you will get no judgment from me. I understand how frustrating this can be, how time-consuming it can become. I blame no one if they decide to skip the hardship and go straight to the reward. That being said, it means that you no longer need this guide, and that is okay. I am happy that you stopped by. If you want my full opinion on cheating in Monster Hunter Rise PC, then you can find the link in the description where I explain my complete point of view. That being said, if you choose to cheat in this way, or any other, I ask of you one thing. Please do not hurt, hinder, or affect the experiences of others. There are other hunters like me who wish to hunt for these crowns legitimately. If you choose to guarantee the drops through mods or third-party programs, please be considerate of others. Hands down, the most efficient way to farm for crowns is to measure each monster during each quest. Once you measure the monster, you can make a determination on whether it is worth taking the time to hunt it, or if you abandon the quest and try again. Farming for crowns in this way allows you to save a lot of time by only hunting the monsters that actually look like they could be a crown. There are many resources throughout the internet that show you the different body parts that you need to measure and what are the signs that you need to look for in order to make an educated decision on whether to hunt a specific monster or not. The basic process with this method is as follows. You start the hunt, find the monster, trap the monster with a shock trap, measure the corresponding monster part using your hunter as a reference, and decide if you will hunt it or if you abandon the quest to try again. It is a simple process that it is easy to repeat. Personally, I do not recommend that you use this method. There is a reason why I do not recommend this method. Like I said, it is definitely the most efficient method, but it is also the method that forces you to play the game the least amount of time. Going into a quest, measuring the monster, deciding it is not worth hunting, abandoning the quest and doing it all over again can lead to hours of not playing the game. This adds to the frustration and as a result, it can very quickly burn you out. Unfortunately, I speak from experience. Back in base Monster Hunter World, I farmed for crowns by measuring each monster. There were some monsters that I was lucky with, and others that I was not. That said, little by little, I was getting each crown one by one. And then there was only one left. Black Diablos. My final gold crown was large Black Diablos. I spent days measuring this monster, and throughout those days I did very little hunting. It became a matter of playing the game without actually playing it. It doubled my frustration and it began to turn into anger. I would get angry by just thinking that I had to turn on the game to try again. I measured hundreds of Black Diabloses to get this large crown, even though my hunting log shows that I hunted less than 50 of them. Eventually, I got the crown. I got them all. But I also got fed up and stopped playing the game altogether for months. I realized that this method was not for me. I will rather play the game and actually hunt each monster, even if I get no crown, than spend hours at a time using shock traps and standing next to the monster for a few seconds, only to just abandon the quest. I love hunting monsters more than I love gold crowns, so I cannot use a method that could ruin the game for me. Instead, I choose to hunt every monster every time. I choose to play the game instead of just surfing through menus and spending consumables. This has worked for me, and it is my preferred method to crown farm. In Monster Hunter Rise, hunting the monster every time is actually beneficial. Most monsters have parts that can be used constantly at the melder to get talismans, so while it does take a longer amount of time, it is not time lost. In regards to personal skill, hunting these monsters while you crown farm is good to get used to their moves and patterns. It is good practice. You will get better as a hunter and be much better prepared to hunt these monsters when Sunbreak comes around. Besides these benefits, hunting the monsters is simply more fun and keeps a more dynamic farm cycle, maintaining your mental stamina. All of this helps to keep longer uptime in the farming cycle, and you are able to go multiple hours without really feeling the fatigue of an extremely repetitive activity. My dear viewer, it is up to you to determine how you want to do things. Do you want to hunt or do you want to measure? I wanted to share my experience, but after that, you must decide. Whichever method you choose, I do wish you the best of luck. After you begin the process of the farm and you find yourself repeating quest after quest after quest in order to get these crowns, you begin to enter a flow. There are a few things that every hunter can do in order to make this process run smoother and quicker by providing a better experience and shaving off some precious seconds that turn into minutes that turn into hours of saved time. These are some general tips and tricks that by themselves will not really make much of a difference, but if you manage to consistently apply all of them, you will realize that this process is not so bad after all. These tips include prioritizing comfort, maintaining variety, doing all event quests, prioritizing weaker monsters, capturing the monsters, returning from the quest, and finishing with a hang. Let's go take a look. The sheer number of quests and hunts that you will do throughout the whole farming process is astounding. Going through a few hundred quests in the best of cases is not unusual. For this reason, the number one tip I can give you is to use builds and weapons that are comfortable to you. I understand that the best way to be efficient in these hunts is to use top tier DPS builds with top tier weapons. That said, there are times where using a build that does a little less damage but offers a higher degree of comfort is a better choice for the long run. This is one of those times. The same applies for weapons. Always use the weapon that you're most comfortable with and you have the most knowledge of, even if the weapon is not exactly the one that deals the highest damage. Right now, the most important thing is to have fun, because when you have fun, you can play for longer periods of time, and that means you can farm for a longer period of time. Let me give you an example. I use the greatsword, period. I do not have side weapons. I just use the greatsword. I love this weapon, and every time I use this weapon, time flies. I have plenty of Valstrax set builds that deal a lot of damage, top DPS choices. That said, when I am crown farming, I usually use a much more comfortable build that uses the Nargacuga greatsword or the Rampage greatsword. These builds allow me to use skills like Focus 3 instead of Focus 2. It allows me to use some quick sheath and maximum speed sharpening. Yes, my damage may be lower, but I have a lot of other skills that make my hunting a lot easier. Since I mentioned the Rampage greatsword, it is a really good choice because I can change its appearance through layered weapons, and being able to switch between different layer options really helps by providing some visual changes. Remember, this is as much a mental battle as it is a battle against RNG. So, in order to be able to have a longer farming session, be sure to use things that are fun for you and that look good to you. That way, you will be able to push through many more quests before burning out. Get comfortable, find your groove, and keep the hunt going. Some of the best advice that I can give for this process is to not focus on a single monster at a time. Organize yourself by establishing a list of monsters that you wish to handle first, and then build a rotation among them. Keep switching between monsters and hunting different targets in order to keep the ongoing farm from stagnating. Hunting the same monster over and over again can get tedious. Hunting different monsters means that you will face different movesets, different situations, and you will need to use different strategies. This will keep the farm fresh, dynamic, and entertaining. Once again, this will mean that you will be able to hunt for longer periods of time, getting more quests finished. Keep rotating the monsters you hunt, and as crowns begin to drop, switch them out for other monsters. The same can be applied to the different weapons in the game. I am a hunter of a single weapon, the greatsword. That is all that I use. But that does not mean that you have to do this. Many hunters believe that switching weapons is like playing a completely different game, and they are probably right. If you use multiple weapons, keep switching between them. The objective is to make sure that the farm does not become tedious, and using different weapons is a great way to achieve this. In fact, this is a great opportunity to learn a new weapon. You have plenty of weaker monsters to hunt to get their crowns, so it is a perfect opportunity to try something new. Let's be honest, it is not the same to hunt Rathalos with the lance than it is to hunt it with the heavy bowgun. They are completely different experiences, and this helps from having the hunts become boring. If you keep rotating weapons on top of rotating monsters, the experience will be different enough each time that it should never become boring. It is very difficult to burn out when different aspects of the hunts continue to change. Eventually, when you have most of the crowns, you will be forced to hunt the same monster over and over again until you get the last few that you are missing. This is inevitable. That said, until we reach that point, it is important to keep on switching things up, hunting different monsters with different weapons. The more variables that you can introduce, the less tedious the whole process will be. Because in the end, variety is the spice of life. Now, before you begin to prepare your quest rotation, before you begin to hunt the monsters that you're missing crowns for, it is very important that you finish all of the currently existing event quests. The thing about event quests is that some of them have increased chances of getting crowns for certain monsters and, even better, other event quests have a guaranteed 100% chance of giving you a crown for their corresponding target monsters. Doing all of the event quests beforehand will greatly reduce the list of needed crowns, as there are some that you will complete in a single quest. Do not worry, we are going to go over each and every event quest that presents an increased chance for a crown, but it is important to do these first anyways, before you begin to loop the quest farming for the crowns. We do not want to spend time farming for the crowns of a monster when we could have easily obtained them through a single event quest. Use the timestamps in the description of this video to see which quests are the best for each monster. Once you have finished all of the event quests and you have the list of monsters that you're missing the crowns for, it is time to prioritize. Not all monsters are equal and you should not treat them as such. When you begin your journey to farm for crowns, it is my absolute recommendation that you focus on the weaker monsters first. You see, focusing on the weaker monsters means that your hunts will be shorter because these monsters have less health. Assuming that you're using an endgame set, it should not take you more than a few minutes to hunt the early game monsters. Weaker monsters means faster hunts, and faster hunts means the possibility of doing more hunts in less time. Eventually, we will be dealing with the top tier monsters and the elder dragons, but until that time, we need to be as efficient as possible. Deal with the small fry first, and work your way up to the top of the food chain. In Monster Hunter, you have two choices when it comes to finishing a hunt. You can slay the monster, or you can capture it. In Monster Hunter Rise, the choice usually comes down to which specific monster part you're looking for. Some parts have a higher chance of dropping if you slay the monster and carve its body, while other parts have a higher chance of dropping when you capture it. That being said, when it comes to crown farming, we do not care about that, and it all comes down to speed. When you finish a quest by slaying a monster, a timer of 60 seconds begins before you return to Komora village. This happens in order to give you time to carve the monster. On the other hand, if you capture the monster, the timer is reduced to only 20 seconds. This is 40 seconds faster. That may not sound like a lot, but 40 seconds multiplied by every single quest that you finish while you're crown farming will very quickly add up. In 5 quests, you save 200 seconds. In 10 quests, you save 400 seconds. That is over 6 minutes. The more quests you do, the more time you save. Soon, those minutes will turn into hours of time saved. Not only that, but throughout the hunt, you're able to capture a monster when it still has about 20% of its remaining health, more or less. This means that by capturing the monster, you also save the time that it will take for you to deal that remaining amount of damage. Here, the amount of time you save really depends on the monster, but it is definitely quicker to capture a monster than it is to fully slay it. As you can see, you save time on 2 occasions, and this will really add up the more hunts you complete. As you progress through your journey to get all of the crowns, you will notice that sometimes the quests that have the highest chance of dropping these crowns are multi-target quests. This means that you have to hunt more than one monster to complete the quest. Normally, this is not an issue, but the problem arises when you do not need the crowns for all of the target monsters. You hunt the monster that you need, but you also need to slay the others in order for the quest to end and for you to receive your crown. This feels like a huge waste of time. Fortunately, it does not have to be the case. Monster Hunter Rise does us the favor of letting us know when we have hunted a specifically small or large monster. It does not tell us if we got the crown, but it does say when our target was the biggest or the smallest that we have hunted yet. If the monster you hunted was a crown, then you get it at the moment that you slay the monster. You already have it. At this point, what you need to do is return from the quest. This will take you back to the Gathering Hub, while keeping everything that you have obtained throughout the incomplete hunt. This includes crowns. This is perfect for these quests where there are multiple monsters to hunt, but you only really need to get the one. Hunt your target and return from quest. If you got the crown, great. If not, you are already ready to try again. Please be careful. Do not abandon the quest. If you do, you will return to the Gathering Hub, but you will also lose everything that you obtained in the incomplete hunt. That includes crowns. So please, make sure that you return from the quest, not abandon the quest. As always, we are trying to save time, and not having to hunt every single monster in a multi-target quest is a huge time save. Take advantage of it. After finishing each quest, whether you slay or capture the monster, the game will go into an animation where your hunter interacts with its buddies or flourishes with a kunai, among other things. From the moment the slay or capture timer ends until the moment that you reach the reward screen, about 11.5 seconds pass. This may not sound like a long time, but taking into consideration that this animation plays after every single hunt, it can get a bit annoying. Fortunately, the game provides us with a way of skipping this animation and saving some time. You can say that it is not an orthodox way of doing things, but it works. If you use your wire bugs to have your hunter remain suspended in midair right as the timer ends, then the game will skip the animation and go straight to the reward screen. From the moment the timer ends until you reach the quest complete message and move on to the rewards, about 6 seconds pass. As you can see, the difference between playing the animation at the end of the hunt and skipping it is about 5.5 seconds. Again, 5.5 seconds may not sound like much. That being said, we are crown hunting. We are going to go through a lot of quests. 5.5 seconds in a single quest is nothing. 5.5 seconds in 100 quests is a total of 550 seconds, or 9 minutes. All of this time adds up, especially if you combined it with the time saved from capturing the monster instead of slaying it. Let's be honest, it is very easy to do, and it does not affect any aspect of the game besides skipping this animation. It is free, saved time, so take it and run. We have a lot more quests to get through in order to reach these crowns. So far, we have covered the methodology of crown farming, explaining the different strategies to use and which ones I believe are the most efficient to follow. In the same way, I share with you, my dear viewer, some general tips and tricks to save you some time and make your experience as easy as possible. All of this will be helpful in providing a much more bearable experience. That being said, we must move on to the most important part of crown farming, picking the right quests. Indeed, not all quests are created equal when it comes to crown farming. Some quests do not give any chance for a gold crown. Others give chances as low as 1%. Throughout this next part of the guide, we're going to review each monster in the game one by one to see which are the quests that give us the highest chance for a gold crown to spawn. Sometimes we have to run the same quest over and over because it is the best. Other times there are multiple quests that offer the same chances, so we get a bit of variety. Some monsters have a lot of helpful quests, while others just one. No matter the case, in this guide you will find the best choices for each monster, no matter what you need to farm. All monsters will be organized in alphabetical order, and in each section I will show you what the best quest is to get the large crown and the small crown for each of the monsters. Please remember that I have placed timestamps in the description of this video to make it easier for you to go straight to the monster that you need. Do not hesitate to use them. Monster Hunter Rise has a lot of monsters in its roster, so there is a lot of content to go over. Since this part of the guide is purely statistical, there is not much for me to explain, so I will turn up the music and let you search for the monster that you need. Have at it. And so, at this time, you should have all of the information and all of the tools that you need in order to hunt and farm for every single gold crown in the game, both large and small. It may take you more or less time. You may have better or worse luck with RNG. But, in the end, as long as you persevere, you will get this accomplishment. Crown farming is an extremely optional goal, but one that shows the determination to be a true monster hunter. Remember that this mission is not a race, and that it is okay to both take your time and take breaks. Do not burn out. Remember, your mental state is as important as the tools we use to reach this objective. Besides this, I believe that absolutely everyone has the capacity to do this. There are no exceptions. Thank you very much for your time, and please remember to use more greatsword.